No, 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 no. The moon had already changed size before I noticed. I was still sitting in the same chair. The city outside kept inventing tomorrow. My room kept replaying yesterday. Face up, face down, locked, unlocked like a heartbeat, learning the wrong rhythm. Every little buzz made my pulse run ahead of my name. Delivery updates, weather alert, someone else's celebration. Every sound borrowed your voice for half a second. Half a second was enough to believe again. I memorized the cracks in the ceiling, the reflection of my face inside a black screen. The battery fell from 80 to 60 to 40. Hope drained slower. I stopped watching movies, stopped finishing songs. Even the kettle boiled twice before I remembered why I turned it on. The apartment became a waiting room with no doctor and no number to call. I wondered how someone could be so absent while occupying every corner of a room. The silence wasn't empty, it wore your perfume. Even the wind paused outside the window like it was reading our last conversation. Maybe the hardest goodbye isn't hearing I don't love you anymore. Maybe it's hearing absolutely nothing. So I stood, walked across the room, held the phone with both hands. Not like a device, like the last photograph of a country I could never visit again. My thumb rested on the power button. 1 second, 2, 3, the screen collapsed into darkness, and something strange happened. The refrigerator hummed, the train crossed the distance, rain tapped softly against the glass. The night had been speaking. The entire time I was simply too busy listening for one person. I opened the window. The air didn't ask me to wait, it simply arrived. I smiled, small, quiet, real. Hours later, I turned the phone back on. One message from you. I finally found the words. I read it once, locked the screen, placed it face down. Not because your words didn't matter, because for the first time my tomorrow was no longer waiting inside your reply. I changed my jacket 3 different times, trying to dress like someone they might remember. Practiced a smile in the mirror, lowered my voice, changed my laugh. Learned the language of pretending. Every room felt borrowed, every handshake felt rehearsed. I collected invitations, but never felt invited. Even in crowded places, my shadow stood alone. Then one Friday, I walked into a building with no sign above the door. No velvet ropes, no flashing names, just warm lights breathing through old windows, like they had been waiting for someone to stop running. A slow guitar met the drums, The bass didn't shake the floor, it slowed my heartbeat. Nobody asked what I did, nobody asked where I came from. Nobody cared how expensive my shoes were. Someone smiled, not because they knew me, because joy didn't need introductions. So I danced awkward at first, like a man trying to remember how freedom moved. Then I stopped counting my mistakes, stopped fixing my posture, stopped searching for approval between strangers' eyes. I forgot there was a version of me I was supposed to protect. I just moved the room, never applauded. It simply made space. Maybe home was never a city. Maybe home was never a place. Maybe home is the first place where your soul doesn't have to audition. I don't need to be louder, I don't need to be different. Tonight my heartbeat already knows the rhythm. Maybe home was never a city. Maybe home was never a face. Maybe home is the first place where your soul doesn't have to audition. To be louder, I don't need to be different. Tonight my heartbeat already knows the rhythm. Near sunrise I stepped outside, the music was still playing behind the walls, but something else was echoing louder. For the first time I wasn't wondering whether they liked me, I was wondering why I had spent so many years asking permission to be myself. The party didn't change my life, it ended a performance I had been given for years. And that's when I understood I never found a place where I belong. I simply arrived as the person who no longer needed to pretend. Every morning, my feet made the same promise. Cross the street, don't look too long. Keep moving, the cafe waited on the corner, like an old photograph that had learned how to breathe. Its window still carry the amber glow. They used to make the world feel smaller. Some places never chase you, they simply stay, knowing one day you'll return on your own. I knew the sound of that wooden door without opening it. Knew the table where laughter used to arrive before the coffee did. Knew the chair that once held two futures, trying to become one for years. I walked past not because I was afraid of seeing you, because I wasn't ready to meet the person I used to be. Seasons changed the trees, rain polished the pavement. The city kept replacing its buildings, only that corner refused to forget my name. Then one quiet afternoon, without a reason big enough to explain, stopped. My hand rested on the cold brass handle. The bell above the door rang exactly the way I remember. Some sounds don't age, a barista smile. What can I get for you? The words escaped my mouth before memory could interrupt the usual. The cup arrived, steam rose slowly like the last page of a story closing itself. I took one sip, I waited for the ache, for the rush, for your voice to appear between the bitterness and the warm nothing. Only coffee, only afternoon light, only a quiet room filled with strangers living their own stories. That's when I understood. The recipe hadn't changed, the music hadn't changed. A little crack in the window was still there. The only thing missing was the version of me who believed this place could never stop hurting. I smiled at the empty chair. Not because I imagined you sitting there, because I no longer needed anyone to fill it. I finished every last drop, left a tip, thanked the silence. And when I walked back into the street, it wasn't the cafe I had left behind. It was a life that had been waiting for my forgiveness long after I had already outgrown it. I thought I was coming back to find a memory. Instead I found something far rarer, a place that no longer asked me. The room was dressed in gold reflections, glass against glass, laughter floating above the music. Someone shouted, "You made it." Another hand pulled me closer for another photograph. Flash after flash, they captured the finish line. Nobody knew the race ended years ago. They thought this night was about a title, about a promotion, about numbers printed on paper, about doors finally opening. If only they knew. The hardest door had no handle. It was the one inside my own mind. There was a winter no calendar remembers. The heating barely worked. The lights stayed off longer than they stayed on. The table held more notebooks than meals. Every rejection arrived wearing a different envelope. Every morning asked me the same question, still going. Every night answered, one more day. No audience, no applause, no headlines, only the quiet agreement between my heartbeat and tomorrow. Some dreams aren't built with confidence, they're built with stubbornness. I learned that progress sometimes sounds like opening a laptop when nobody expects you to trying again before the sun has another chance to laugh at your plans. Maybe this isn't victory, maybe it's proof that I survived the version of me who wanted to disappear. Raise your glass if you've ever kept walking with no evidence. It would be worth it tonight, tonight. I'm not celebrating where I arrived. I'm celebrating the night I refuse to turn around. The band kept playing, friends kept dancing. Someone asked how success felt. I almost answered instead, I watched the bubbles climb slowly inside my glass. Funny, they looked exactly like the thoughts that once kept me awake at 3 in the morning. Fear rises, hope rises too. The difference is which one you decide to swallow. I smiled at conversations that never knew my darkest chapter. Not because I wanted to hide it, because pain doesn't know anyone an explanation. Some victories arrive wearing expensive suits, others arrive quietly, looking exactly like the person who simply didn't quit. Maybe this isn't victory, maybe it's proof that I survived. The version of me who wanted to disappear. Raise your glass if you've ever kept walking with no evidence. It will be worth it tonight. I'm not celebrating where I arrived, I'm celebrating the night. I refuse to turn around. When the music faded, people believed the party was over. I stayed for one more moment, lifted my glass, not toward the stage, not toward the cameras, but toward an empty corner. Only I could see, to the apartment that was always too cold, to the unanswered emails, to the mornings that began before hope did, to every version of me that chose one more page, one more attempt, one more sunrise. They thought I was celebrating a single night. The truth is, the greatest celebration happened years ago, when nobody clapped, nobody believed, and I quietly whispered, not today. Cause that was the night my future finally started believing in me.
There was a version of me that still lived inside old photographs, running without checking the time, laughing before finishing the joke, believing every road had somewhere beautiful to end. Sometimes I visited him, not in dreams, in reflections, in songs I couldn't finish, in jackets I no longer wore. I kept saying I miss who I used to be, as if growing older had stolen someone I was supposed to protect. Life didn't arrive like a storm, it arrived like water, slow enough that I never noticed how different my voice had become. The fearless boy became a careful man. The loud laugh learned how to whisper. Hope started knocking before entering. For years I thought that meant I had lost myself. Then one afternoon I was helping a little boy tie the lace of his shoe. He looked at the scars across my hands, looked at my face, then smiled like children do when they ask questions too honest for a dose. Have you always been this brave? I laughed, almost answered no, but the word never arrived, because something inside me had already replied. Bravery was never the absence of fear, it was carrying every frightened version of myself and refusing to leave any of them behind. I don't miss the boy I was. He's still here, running quietly inside every step I take today. Every dream he dared to imagine became another reason I refuse to give up. If you listen closely, you can still hear him laughing between my heartbeat and tomorrow. The sun was beginning to disappear. The boy ran back toward his family without realizing he had just returned
something I thought life had taken. I stayed there for a while, watching the wind move through the trees. Funny, the branches never become their younger selves again. They simply grow strong enough to hold more seasons. Maybe that's what happened to me. Not less joy, deeper joy, not less courage, quieter courage, not less freedom. A freedom that no longer needed to prove itself. I don't miss the boy I was. He's still here, running quietly inside every step I take today. Every dream we dare to imagine became another reason I refuse to give up. If you listen closely, you can still hear it laughing between my heartbeat and tomorrow. That night, I opened an old box filled with photographs for the first time. I wasn't searching for someone I'd lost. I was thanking the first person who believed I could become the man standing here now. The truth was never that I had left my old self behind. The truth was he had been walking beside me through every goodbye, every failure, every impossible morning, quietly becoming the strength I thought I had lost. Here was a song that knew too much about my life, not because someone wrote it for me, because one season it accidentally became the soundtrack of everything I couldn't keep. The first piano note was enough. Next, the first guitar chord, skip. Sometimes I muted cafes, changed radio stations, left stores before the chorus arrived. Funny how 4 minutes could still control an entire afternoon. Friends asked, "Don't you like this one anymore?" I smiled, it's just overplayed. It wasn't, it was overloaded. Every verse still carried the weight of conversations that never reached goodbye. Every chorus remembered the version of me who still believed love could be protected simply by wanting it enough. Years passed, cities changed, phones changed, dreams changed. I changed too, quietly, so quietly I never noticed. Then one night I was driving with the windows open. No destination, no urgency, just street lights painting gold across the windshield. The shuffle button made a decision I never would have made the song. My hand moved automatically toward the dashboard, ready to skip. It stopped halfway there, not because I forced it, because for the first time I was curious about who I had become. The first verse ended, nothing happened. The chorus arrived, still breathing. The bridge, still beautiful. I kept driving, no tears, no tightness in my chest, only music. The melody hadn't changed, the singer hadn't changed, the words still landed exactly where they used to. But the wound they once entered was no longer open. Some songs don't break your heart, they simply arrive when your heart is already breaking. Maybe healing isn't forgetting the melody. Maybe healing is finally hearing it without asking the past for permission. Tonight I let every note
finish its sentence. The final chorus filled the car, the city kept moving. Traffic lights changed colors, a couple laughed while crossing the street. Someone danced alone at a bus stop. Life had been continuing this whole time. The last note faded, silence returned, not the heavy silence I used to fear, the kind that gently says, you're allowed to keep living now. I parked, stay there for another minute, not to remember you, to thank the song for carrying a version of me that no longer needed to be carried. Some songs don't break your heart, they simply arrive when your heart is already breaking. Maybe healing isn't forgetting the melody, maybe healing is finally hearing it without asking the past for permission. Tonight I let every note finish its sentence. When I stepped out of the car, the music was already over, but something inside me had quietly begun. For years I believed avoiding that song was protecting myself. I was wrong. The song had never been the prison, it was the key, waiting patiently for the day I no longer needed pain to recognize its beauty.
I used to believe every goodbye deserved one last glance, the old apartment. I watched until the balcony became another window among hundreds. The school gates, I turned around long enough to remember the sound of my own footsteps. Train stations, airport terminals, empty parking lots, every ending borrowed. One more second from tomorrow, as if looking back could convince time to wait. I became an expert at almost leaving. Half my body walked forward, the other half kept asking, are you sure? Maybe that's why every new beginning felt heavier. I was carrying too many exits inside my pockets. Years passed, cities learned my name, faces arrived and quietly became memories too. Still, I always turn around, not because I expected someone to stop me, because I wanted proof that what I loved had really existed. Then came an ordinary evening. No dramatic music, no rain, no final embrace, just another street I had walked 1,000 times. The keys felt unfamiliar in my hand. The door closed softly behind me for a moment. My body prepared the old ritual. 3 more steps, pause, look back instead. I kept walking one step, then another. The silence didn't chase me, the memories didn't disappear. The street didn't become smaller, only lighter. Some chapters don't end when you leave, they end the moment you stop asking the past to wave goodbye. I carried every place that ever loved me, none of them asked me to turn around. Halfway down the block, I reached into my pocket and found an old receipt, folded, faded, almost erased. I smiled, funny paper tries harder to remember than people do. I let the wind take it, not because it no longer mattered, because it already had the sky. Slowly traded gold for midnight blue. Street lights began writing small poems across the pavement. For the first time, my shadow wasn't following what I had left, it was walking beside who I was becoming. Some chapters don't end
when you leave. They end the moment you stop asking the past to wave goodbye. I carried every place that ever loved me. None of them asked me to turn around. Years later, someone asked me, was it difficult to leave? I almost answered yes, but the truth was gentler. Leaving was never the hardest part. The hardest part was believing that if I stopped looking back, I would lose everything I had loved. I was wrong, the places never stayed behind me. They had been quietly rebuilding my heart with every goodbye. And the first time I didn't look back wasn't because I had forgotten. It was because I finally trusted that the life ahead no longer needed permission from the life I had already lived.
There was a book I never lent to anyone, not because it was rare, because somewhere between page 112 and 113 time had fallen asleep, a photograph, edges worn smooth by years of being touched without being seen. I never threw it away, never framed it, never explained why that book always returned to the same shelf. Some memories don't ask to be forgotten, they only ask for somewhere quiet to wait. Every spring I promised myself next year I'll finally look at it. Every spring the book closed itself before I could, not because the paper was heavy, because I thought the picture still held power, that if I looked too long it would pull me back into a version of life that no longer existed. Years passed, new addresses, new laughter, new mornings. The book gathered dust but never distance. Then one ordinary sunrise, while searching for something else, I found it again. The room was quiet enough to hear the pages breathe. I opened it, there you were, not smiling at me, not asking me to return, just existing inside one perfect second. The camera had refused to let disappear. I waited for the ache, it never arrived, only warmth, the kind left behind when winter finally understands it has stayed long enough. So I carried the photograph to the kitchen, placed it in the middle of the table. Sunlight slowly crossed its surface like morning, shaking hands with yesterday. Some memories don't fade, they simply wait until your heart is strong enough to hold them without breaking. Love doesn't end because the story changes. Sometimes it becomes the quiet reason you learn how to keep going. I made coffee, not because I needed comfort, because ordinary moments deserve beautiful company. Steam rose gently, passing over the picture without hiding it. Funny, for years I thought I had been protecting that photograph. The truth was it had been protecting me, keeping a chapter of my life safe until I was ready to remember it without asking pain to introduce us. Some memories don't fade, they simply wait until your heart is strong enough to hold them without breaking. Love doesn't end because the story changes. Sometimes it becomes the quiet
to keep going. Before leaving, I didn't return the photograph to the book. I left it on the table where daylight could visit it whenever it wished. Not as a shrine, not as a wound, as gratitude, because the picture had never changed. The smile, the light, the moment were exactly the same. The only thing that looked different was the person standing beside the table. For years I believed I was hiding a photograph, until one quiet morning I discovered the only thing that had ever been hidden was the peace waiting patiently inside the one who finally looked at it without fear.
I carried your voice for longer than I carried my own. Every room remembered what happened. Every mirror pretended it didn't. You left without slamming the door. Some exits are quieter, they echo longer. I kept rehearsing conversations that never happened. The words always changed, the ending never did. I asked why you disappeared, why you watched everything fall apart, why you stayed silent when one sentence could have changed an entire year. You knew how afraid I already was, still you walked away. People said time heals, funny, time only showed me the places where your absence had learned to live. I blamed you for every road I refused to take, every dream I quietly folded before sunrise, every chance that died before it had a name. You became the perfect villain, silent enough to never defend yourself. How long can you carry the weight of one mistake before you forget what your hands were built to hold? How long can one apology wait outside your heart before it believes the door will never open? Years passed, the anger grew tired, not smaller, just older. One evening, I found two empty chairs facing each other without thinking. I sat down across from me, silence, the kind that knows every secret before you speak. So I finally said it. Why did you leave when I needed you most? No answer, only my reflection resting quietly in the window. Then another question escaped. Why didn't you believe I could survive? The room became still, so still. I heard my own breathing for the first time. That's when I understood there had never been another chair, only another version of myself, waiting patiently for me to arrive. The promises that were broken, I broke them. The dreams that were abandoned, I abandoned them. The voice that kept saying, you're not enough. It wasn't yours, it never was. It always sounded exactly like mine. How long can you punish the person who has already paid the price? How long can yesterday keep asking for another sentence when the judge and the prisoner share the same name? I walked home without feeling lighter, something better. Oh, because forgiveness isn't pretending nothing happened. It's refusing to let one chapter become the title of your entire life. The person I searched for to blame never existed. The person I searched for to save have been waiting behind my own eyes all these years. And the hardest words I have ever spoken weren't I forgive you. They were, come home.
to the only person who had been carrying every goodbye, every failure, every impossible morning, without ever leaving. The last person I had to forgive was the one who never stopped waiting for me.
For a long time I measured life by quieter things. Bills paid, beds made, messages answered. Another sunrise, another survival. People said you seem okay. I learned how to wear that sentence like a well-fitted coat, warm enough to hide the winter underneath. I still smiled. Of course I smiled, the kind of smile that belongs in photographs, perfectly still, carefully balanced. A smile that never reached the rooms behind my eyes. Somewhere between responsibilities and recoveries, I forgot the sound. My happiness made, not sadness, just volume turned down. Years passed without announcing themselves. Hair changed, cities changed, playlists changed. Even my handwriting looked older. Then one evening, friends gathered around a small table. Music drifted through the air like it wasn't trying to be noticed. Someone told a story. Another person interrupted at exactly the wrong moment. Everyone laughed, and so did I, not politely, not carefully. It escaped me, a loud, unguarded, imperfect laugh, the kind that makes your shoulders forget they've been carrying too much. The room kept talking, nobody noticed, but I did. I stopped, my heartbeat didn't. It kept smiling before I could. Maybe joy doesn't knock, maybe it climbs through an open window you forgot to close. Maybe healing isn't a destination, maybe it's hearing your own laughter and realizing it remembered the way home before you did. For a second, I wasn't listening to the conversation, I was listening to myself. Funny, I couldn't remember the last time my laughter had sounded like someone I recognized. Not louder, not younger, just honest. It wasn't trying to convince anyone I was okay, it simply was outside. The night kept unfolding, its familiar silence inside. Something invisible had quietly returned to its seat. I looked around the table, the people were still laughing. The story had already moved on. Whatever the joke was, it was gone. Maybe joy doesn't knock, maybe it climbs through an open window you forgot to close. Maybe healing isn't a destination, maybe it's hearing your own laughter and realizing it remembered the way home before you did. Walking home, I tried to remember what had been so funny. I couldn't. The punchline had disappeared, the words were already gone. Only one thing remained, the sound, my sound, waiting patiently beneath years of surviving. I used to believe I needed one extraordinary moment to become myself again. I was wrong, it happened between ordinary friends, an unfinished story and a laugh nobody else will ever remember, because the miracle was never the joke. The miracle was hearing my own joy call my name and answering without even thinking. For the first time, my laughter didn't remind me of who I used to be. It introduced me to the person
who had quietly been returning all along.
People kept asking the same question, why is it still there? As if healing could be measured by an empty contact list. As if forgetting had an option you could simply tap. I always smile, never explain. Some things sound smaller when spoken aloud. Your name stayed between two strangers. I no longer remember, just another line inside a phone, filled with people I rarely call. Yet somehow everyone noticed yours. They imagined late night messages, unanswered calls, hope hiding behind a glowing screen. The truth was quieter. Months had passed since I last opened our conversation. The words had already become another language. I wasn't waiting for three little dots to appear. I wasn't rehearsing what I would say. If you came back, that version of me had already walked home. Sometimes I scroll past your name without stopping, the same way you pass an old tree that once gave you shade. You don't hug it, you don't cry, but you still remember how grateful you were on the hottest day. Some people aren't meant to stay forever. They're meant to change the direction of your road. Love doesn't fail because it ends sometimes. Its greatest gift is teaching you how to continue without it. One quiet evening I opened my contacts, not to delete, not to call, just to notice how different my hands felt. Your number looked exactly the same. Funny, numbers never grow older. People do. I pressed edit, the cursor blinked, waiting, not for a decision, for an understanding. I erased your name, not your number, just the story I had attached to it. One letter then another, until the screen held only two simple words: thank you. I stared at them for a long time, not because I was saying goodbye, because I finally knew what I had been carrying. You were never a chapter I needed to erase. You were a bridge I no longer needed to stand on. Some people are meant to stay forever. They're meant to leave behind a version of you that couldn't exist before they arrived. Gratitude doesn't replace love, it lets love rest peacefully without asking for one more tomorrow. I locked the screen, slid the phone back into my pocket. The night kept moving, so did I. Nothing dramatic had happened, no music swelled, no tears arrived. Only one quiet change that no one else would ever notice. People thought keeping your number. I couldn't let go, they never understood. I wasn't saving a possibility, I was honoring a journey. Because forgetting and deleting had never been the same thing. One erases what happened, but the other simply frees you from waiting for it to happen again. And somewhere inside a phone I barely open anymore, there was still one familiar number, not carrying hope, not carrying regret. Only a name that reminded me the most beautiful stories don't always end with forever. Sometimes they end with the two words that finally set your heart free: thank you. I spent half my life running toward clocks, always believing my future was 5 minutes ahead of where I stood. Every opportunity looked like closing doors. Every goodbye felt permanent. I memorized departure boards. Better than my own heartbeat. There was always another platform, another deadline, another version of the story where I had arrived. Just a little earlier, people called it bad timing. I called it proof that I wasn't enough. I learned to apologize for being late. Even when I wasn't late, I simply wasn't ready. Years disappeared like stations, seen through a moving window. Beautiful, impossible to hold. Then came an ordinary night, the city still awake. Rain still shining across the tracks. A train already waiting, his doors open like an invitation. I almost believed I ran back against my shoulder, shoes striking concrete. Breath trying to outrun regret. One more step, one more second, then the doors closed softly, without anger, without mercy. The train began to move. I stopped, bent forward, hands on my knees, waiting for frustration to arrive. It didn't only breathe warm, honest, still here. For the first time, I wasn't angry at the train. I wasn't angry at myself. I simply watched the lights become smaller until they disappeared inside the tunnel. Funny, the world didn't end because one train kept going. It simply became quieter. Maybe destiny doesn't leave without you. Maybe fear is the thing that keeps telling you it already did. Every road doesn't close, some roads are simply finished, making you chase them. The station grew still, no announcements, no hurry, no race to win. I looked at the empty tracks with certainty had just disappeared. Then a breeze crossed the platform, not from the tunnel, from behind me. A distant hum of metal meeting distance. I turned on the opposite side. Another train glided quietly into the station. No one was running, no one was panicking. Its doors opened without asking where I had been, only whether I was ready. Now I smile, not because I finally found the right train, because I finally stopped believing there was only one. Maybe destiny has never shouted. Maybe it waits until your heartbeat becomes quieter than your fear. Missing one train doesn't mean you missed your life. Sometimes the track you never noticed has been carrying your future all along. I stepped inside, no celebration, no miracle, just a seat beside the window. The city began moving again, or maybe I finally did. Years from now I won't remember the train that left. I remember the silence that stayed, the silence where I discovered that peace doesn't begin when every door opens. It begins the moment you stop begging closed doors to become your future. The train left the station, and with it, so did the oldest passenger. I had been carrying fear. I watched it disappear into the dark. Then I faced the platform I had ignored my entire life, and quietly boarded the journey that had been waiting for me all along.
The bell above the door, do, 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 do. The bell above the door still carried the same quiet voice, not loud enough to announce an arrival, just enough to let the room take a gentle breath. Nothing looked expensive, wood polished by hand, shelves that lean, just enough to prove
They had stories. A little radio murmured somewhere behind the counter, as if it had forgotten it was supposed to entertain anyone. I wandered slowly, pretending I was only passing through. Truth was, I wanted to know if places ever forget people. The owner lifted his eyes, no surprise, no hesitation, only the calm smile of someone recognizing a familiar melody. Ailment, one word spoken, like it had never left the room. My footsteps stopped, I searched my memory, trying to remember whether we had spoken recently, whether I had called, written, visited. Nothing, only silence. You remember me? He laughed softly, the way people do when the answer has always been obvious. I remember the people who arrived, looking for more than what they're buying. The shop became strangely still, not empty, full of invisible things. I looked around, hoping the walls might explain what I couldn't. There was the old chair near the entrance, the cracked ceramic jar, the tiny plant reaching toward the window. Everything had grown older without losing its kindness. So had he, maybe, so had I. You never know which version of yourself someone else decides to remember. A single conversation, a simple smile, sometimes that's enough to live quietly inside another heart. He wrapped my purchase with careful hands, exactly the way some people fold letters they hope will survive the journey. I almost forgot what I came here for, I admitted. He nodded, most people do. No cleverness, no performance, just truth resting comfortably between us. I reached for my wallet, he reached for the receipt. Neither of us hurried at the door. I turned back, not because I was leaving, but because something inside me had become lighter. He was already looking toward the shelves, as if our meeting had been the most ordinary thing in the world. Then he spoke without raising his voice. I knew you'd come back one day. Not, I hoped, not, I wondered. He said I knew, as though some reunions don't need promises, only patience. You never know where your kindness decides to stay. The smallest moments often become someone else's longest memories. Maybe being remembered has nothing to do with being extraordinary. Maybe it begins the day you make someone feel seen. Outside, the street looked exactly like every other street. People passed, cars rolled by, nothing announced that anything important had happened. I couldn't remember what I used to buy there. Not the brand, not the price, not even the reason I first walked inside. But I remember how it felt to hear my own name spoken, like it had always belonged there. I entered looking for a shop. I left carrying something far more difficult to find, the quiet certainty that somewhere in the lives we briefly touched, a small part of us keeps the light on long after we've forgotten the way back.
The city had forgotten how to whisper. Music drifted through open doors. Shoes echoed across empty streets. Someone laughed from a balcony I couldn't see. Someone else played a melody that disappeared before I found it. I wasn't looking for answers, only movement. Some nights don't ask you to be happy, they simply ask you
to keep walking, so I did. One street became another, neon reflections floated across the pavement. Windows glowed like little stories, still refusing to fall asleep. Friends danced without trying to impress anyone. Someone offered me another drink, I chose water. For the first time I wanted to remember every minute. We talked about places we had never visited, people we had almost become, dreams that had quietly changed their names. Nobody noticed the music getting softer. Nobody noticed the sky slowly releasing its darkness. But something inside me already had, maybe tomorrow doesn't arrive all at once. Maybe it begins the moment you stop fearing what daylight might reveal. Hope doesn't shout. Sometimes it simply changes the color of the horizon. The streets grew quieter, birds began rehearsing a song the city had almost forgotten. The buildings caught a thin line of gold along their edges. No applause, no fireworks, just light doing what light has always done. One of my friends looked toward the station. Should we go? The question hung gently between us. I watched the horizon take one more breath, then I smiled. No, I've spent too much of my life missing sunrises. Nobody answered, nobody needed to. We stood there without speaking, watching the sky become something it hadn't been a moment before. Maybe tomorrow was never waiting at the end of the road. Maybe it was waiting inside the choice to stay a little longer, to believe that one more sunrise might still have my name written in its light. The first rays reached the pavement, every puddle became a small mirror holding its own piece of the morning. People started opening their cafes, a cyclist crossed the bridge somewhere, a child laughed on the way to a day that hadn't happened yet. Life was beginning again without asking who deserved it. I realized I hadn't spent the whole night searching for something extraordinary. I had simply stayed long enough to witness the world starting over, and somehow that was enough, 'cause I didn't need a different life to begin. I only needed one quiet morning to remind me that every sunrise arrives the same way. Not by asking the darkness to disappear, but by patiently giving it less and less of the sky. So I stayed not to watch the sunrise, but to watch the part of me that had quietly decided to rise with it.
Every afternoon the hallway held his breath, not because anything happened, because someone believed it still could. A pair of shoes rested beneath the old wooden bench, never moved, never given away. The house kept them like a sentence. Nobody was ready to finish then. The sound of cars slowing outside, claws against the floor, a tale already celebrating.
Before certainty had a chance to speak, the door opened. A neighbor, a delivery, the wind never. The footsteps he remembered, he walked back without complaining. Lay down, closed his eyes, only until the next engine. Past the house, people say dogs don't understand absence. I think they understand it better than we do. They never ask why, they simply keep loving in the direction where love used to arrive. The seasons change quietly. Rain learned the shape of the roof. The garden forgot whose hands had planted it. The family learned how to smile again. He never stopped listening for the gate. Love doesn't count the days. It waits with the same heart, whether someone returns or not. Maybe loyalty isn't believing nothing changes. Maybe it's loving even after everything has. One afternoon, another car rolled slowly past the house. No pause, cross the hallway, no eager breath, no shadow waiting at the door. The family looked at each other quietly, the kind of silence that carries too many meanings. Later they found him sleeping peacefully, not beside the entrance, not beside the window, curled gently against those old shoes. His nose resting where familiar footsteps used to begin. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. Some tears don't fall because something ended. They fall because something was finally understood. Love doesn't always wait at the door. Sometimes it chooses the place where memories still breathe. Home isn't where someone returns. It's where their kindness never truly leaves. The shoes grew older, the leather soft and dust settled, where time had quietly passed. Yet every evening the house felt strangely full, as if devotion had learned a different language. People say he had stopped waiting. I don't believe that waiting was never why kept him there. Love was maybe he never stopped expecting those familiar footsteps. Maybe he simply discovered that some people don't stay closest at the front door. They stay inside the places that still remember their shape. So he rested beside the shoes, not because hope had disappeared, but because that was where the distance felt smallest. And sometimes the deepest kind of love isn't standing at the door forever. It's quietly choosing the place where a heartbeat still feels like home.
Every morning, every morning, before the town fully opened its eyes, a small bridge waited above the tracks. There stood a boy, shoes dusted white, backpack half open, hair dancing with the wind. The train always arrived with the same distant hum, like a river made of steel before anyone could disappear behind the windows. His hand was already in the air, not searching for someone, not choosing a face, just waving. Some mornings a child
pressed a hand against the glass. Some mornings a conductor lifted 2 fingers without slowing down. Most mornings nothing, only reflections passing by like quiet weather. Still the boy smiled, tomorrow would come again, and so would he. People asked, do you know anyone on that train? He laughed, not yet. The bridge became part of his mornings. The wave became part of his name. Then life, as it always does, changed the scenery. The bridge stayed, the boy didn't. You never know how far one small kindness can travel. Some hearts remember what the world has already forgotten. A smile doesn't ask who deserves it, it simply arrives. The station felt different from the ground. No bridge, no backpack, only another traveler holding another ticket. I was reading the departures board when someone gently touched my shoulder. An older man, eyes carrying more miles than his suitcase. He looked at me for a long moment, then smiled. It's really you. I searched his face, nothing, no memory found its place. He noticed you wouldn't remember me. I was just another passenger. He looked toward the tracks before speaking again. There was a season when getting on that train felt harder than anything else in my life. His voice never broke, it simply slowed every morning. Before the doors closed, there was one kid standing on the bridge. He waved like every person inside mattered. The station became very quiet. Most days, I couldn't smile back, but I always saw you, and somehow it reminded me that the world still had people who greeted strangers without asking for a reason. He breathed in a small smile, finally reached his eyes. You didn't fix my life, but you helped me believe it was worth coming back tomorrow. Storm is passing quietly behind a window. Sometimes hope doesn't arrive with answers. Sometimes it arrives with a child lifting one hand toward a passing train. He shook my hand. Boarding was called. The doors opened. He stepped inside, then turned one last time. This time, before the train began to move, he raised his hand. Without thinking, I raised mine exactly the way I always had. The train slid away, carrying another ordinary morning. People on the platform went back to their journeys. No applause, no music, just one quiet gesture, crossing the distance between 2 lives. I stood there, watching the track stretch toward the horizon. As a child, I believed I was waving at trains. I was wrong. I was waving at people whose stories I would never know. And maybe the most beautiful things we ever do are the ones that never discover how far their kindness continued traveling. One by one, the windows learn how to become stars. Floor after floor, the city closes eyes. Elevator side, coffee cups were forgotten beside keyboards. Footsteps echo toward tomorrow, only one light. Refuse to leave, people notice, cities always do. Or so, probably chasing another promotion. Maybe the boss won't let them go home. Some people live to work, stories travel faster than truth across the street. The taxi driver finished another shift. He looked up,
same window, same light. Every evening, the woman walking the dog gave it a name, the ambitious one. The security guard smiled quietly, even he didn't know. Nobody did, because glass lets you see light, not purpose. Inside the room was almost empty. No expensive suit hanging on the chair, no awards covering the walls, only a worn backpack, a second-hand notebook, a cup of coffee grown cold long before the lesson ended. A highlighter with almost no ink, margins filled with questions, words crossed out until they finally made sense. The silence wasn't lonely, it was concentrated. Every page turned softly, like someone carefully opening a door that had always been locked. Some lights stay on long after the building sleeps, not because they're chasing more money, because somewhere a family is waiting for a future they've never seen. Outside the rain painted silver lines across the windows. Inside another chapter slowly surrendered. Tired eyes met stubborn hands. The clock kept moving, nobody complained. Between the pages rested an old photograph, 3 generations standing together. Work boots, calloused hands, proud smiles. None of them had ever worn a graduation gown. The photograph didn't ask for perfection, only continuation. Her hand rested gently on its corner, almost like saying, I'm still going. No audience, no applause, no one counting the nights. Only one quiet promise written without words. Some victories begin before anyone calls your name. They begin when you decide your children will inherit possibilities instead of limits. The last page closed, the backpack zipped shut. The light finally disappeared from the street. It looked like another office, going dark, nothing remarkable. But tomorrow people would pass that building again. Someone would probably point at the final window and invent another story. They would never know that no one had stayed late to interest a manager or to earn another title. The last light wasn't burning for ambition, was burning for a surname that had carried hard work for generations, and was finally about to carry a diploma. Because hope doesn't always arrive wearing bright colors. Sometimes it looks like a single lamp glowing quietly inside a building. Everyone else has already stopped watching.
Every evening, the table learned the names of the people who came home. Plates found their familiar places. Glasses caught the kitchen light. Bread was broken by hands that already knew each other. There was laughter, stories, the gentle music of forks meeting porcelain, and always one empty chair, one plate, one folded napkin, as if dinner hadn't quite begun. Visitors noticed children as relatives smiled, thinking it was only a strange tradition. Nobody moved the chair, nobody touched the plate. It simply waited like it understood something the rest of us had forgotten. The little girl grew taller, her voice grew quieter. The chair never changed, years dressed the house in new colors. Old photographs filled the hallway, the table became larger. Families do that. The empty place remained exactly where it had always been. Kindness doesn't disappear, it changes hands. One open door, one shared meal, one small act, traveling farther than the person who began it. One autumn evening, someone finally asked, "Who are we waiting for?" She looked at the empty chair, then smiled the way people smile when they're opening a window inside themselves. It's for whoever arrives alone. Silence gently crossed the room. She rested her hands on the edge of the table. When I was little, I didn't have anywhere to go. A woman I'd never met asked me to sit with her. She shared her dinner as if she'd been expecting me all along. The room listened without interrupting. I never saw her again, but before I left, I promised myself one day someone else would never have to eat alone if I could help it. No one spoke some truths, arrived quietly like warm soup on a cold evening. Kindness doesn't ask to be remembered, it only hopes someone else will continue the story. Love grows every time a stranger is welcomed like family. A gentle knock broke the silence. The wind slipped in with someone standing at the door. A young traveler, tired eyes, an uncertain smile. I'm sorry, I think I have the wrong address. She stood, pulled back the empty chair. You don't come eat, no speeches, no explanations, just a place already waiting. The table became complete without adding another memory. It added another beginning. People thought the chair was reserved for someone who never returned. They were wrong. It had never belonged to yesterday, it belonged to tomorrow. Because the woman who once shared her meal didn't only feed a hungry little girl, she quietly created a place that would welcome strangers for generations. And somewhere, perhaps without ever knowing it, one act of kindness continued setting the table long after its first invitation had ended.
The house echoed differently once the shelves were empty. Dust rose slowly through narrow beams of afternoon light. Cardboard boxes filled the hallway, each one holding pieces of a life too ordinary to notice while it was happening. One box had no label, its corners softened by time, its tape already given up inside. A faded notebook, marbles, a paper airplane that never learned how to land. And beneath them all, a stack of drawings. The first one showed a bridge stretching toward a distant skyline. The second, the same bridge. The third, the same horizon. Different seasons, different colors, always the same. It's the same destination at the bottom of every page, written in uneven letters. Don't forget. I smiled and stopped because I couldn't remember what I had promised. The room grew strangely quiet now because of what I found, because of what I had beside myself. Growing up doesn't always take away our dreams. Sometimes it quietly hides them beneath schedules, deadlines, and ordinary days, until one forgotten box remembers for us. I turned another page, then another. Every drawing point toward the same life. Not richer, not easier, just true. The child who drew these had no backup plan, no fear of looking foolish, only wide skies, unished maps, and impossible confidence. He believed the future would recognize him. Somewhere between birthdays, rent payments, and calendars, I had stopped recognizing him. No dramatic failure, no single wrong turn, only 1,000 tiny choices made without asking whether they still belong to the boy holding those crayons. The drawings weren't accusing me, they were waiting patiently, exactly the way children Wait for adults to remember what they promised. The hardest person to lose isn't always someone else. Sometimes it's the version of yourself who still believes the impossible was simply unfinished. Evening settled softly across the room. The last page slipped from the stack on its back. One sentence, barely readable. You know the way when you're older. I laughed, not because it was childish, because somehow he had trusted me more than I had trusted myself. I folded every drawing with careful hands, not to hide them, to carry them. Tomorrow would look exactly like tomorrow. The world wouldn't notice anything different. The traffic would still move, phones would still ring, people would still hurry past each other. But something had already changed, not outside, inside. For years I believed I was searching for a new direction. I was searching for someone who had been leaving me little maps since he was 10. So no, I'm not beginning again. I'm simply walking back to the road. A small boy started drawing long before I knew how easy it would be to forget.
The attic had already given back its secrets. The drawings were folded carefully, resting beside the old notebook. I thought the story had finished there, until one page fell loose, blank except for a name, mine, written in the handwriting of someone whose fingers were still learning how to hold a pencil. No message, no date, just enough space for words that had never been written. I stared at the page for a long time. Maybe it had always been waiting for me to finish it. Children leave strange gifts, not because they know the future, because they believe someone will eventually find their way back. I placed the notebook on the table outside. The evening was quietly becoming night. Inside, 10 years old sat across from me. Without saying a single word, he didn't ask why I had disappeared. He didn't ask why life had become so serious. He simply smiled, the way people do when they already know you'll come home. The child we used to be doesn't keep a list of our mistakes, only an empty page hoping we'll remember how to write with wonder again. I picked up an old pencil, its tip was one flat. The first sentence wouldn't come, not because I had nothing to say, because apologies feel too small when spoken to someone who never stopped believing. So instead, I wrote about the places we'd been, the people who had changed us, the fears we carried like borrowed coats, the victories no newspaper would ever print, and the mornings when simply getting out of bed had been its own kind of courage. The page filled slowly, not perfectly. Honestly, when I finished, I noticed something. The handwriting at the top, the mine at the bottom looked strangely similar, as if time hadn't erased him, only stretched the distance between us. Growing older isn't becoming someone new. It's learning how to walk beside every version of yourself without leaving any of them behind. I closed the notebook, not to preserve it, to carry it. The box returned to the attic, not because it belonged there, because I heart. Tomorrow the city would wake like always. Buses, buses, crosswalks, coffee cups, conversations. Nothing would announce what had changed, but every decision would now have two people walking beside it. The man I had become, and the child who had quietly saved the seed for me all these years. Because maybe growing up was never about leaving childhood behind. Maybe it was about becoming the adult that a 10-year-old would still be proud to wave at from the other side of time.